Hello, I'm Justin. Today I'm going to develop IRC formula. So now we need a point on the graph. Here we call it point P. It's clearly that the tangent of P is a horizontal line. So this one is tangent line of P. Now, we already know the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. For using this formula, we need another point on the graph. We find here, call it point Q. Now, we draw a tangent line between Q and P. Sorry, a secant line between Q and P. Okay, now we are going to find the slope of Q and P. Now we need the value of y and x. For the x value of P, we call it A. And the y value of P is f of A. For Q point, we know that P and Q, S value of P and Q, have a distance. We call it h. And in this situation, h is less than 0. So we can know the x value of Q is A plus h. Now, for the y value of Q is f of A plus h. Now, we put our information in the formula. So, the slope of Q and P will be y2 minus y1 and x2 A plus h minus A. So simplify the formula. So this slope between P and Q. Now we want the value of tangent line of P. So we find another point on the graph. Call it Q1. Now we draw another secant line between Q1 and P. So this one's another secant line. And the S value of Q1, the distance becomes this. The distance is shorter, and the secant line is more close, is approaching to tangent line. And we draw, for verify this, we find another point at Q2 and draw a secant line between Q2 and P. We can find out this one secant line is approaching to a tangent line, and the edge of Q2 also approaching to a 0. So we can know IRC formula is limit edge approaching 0. Here's a minus sign, which means here's 0. this here is h, the value of h, and it's approaching to a 0. So it's very, very close to h from left side of 0. H is approaching to a 0, but it's from the left side, so h still less than 0. So here is our formula. But this one is preceding. Okay, now we need to find from the other side to find the IRC formula. So same thing, we find a Q point and a P point, and for the value of P is A. The distance between P and Q is h, but in this situation h is greater than 0. So the x value of Q is A plus h. Now we draw the y value of P and Q. For P values is f of A. Now we still put in this formula. So NPQ equal f of A plus h minus f of A plus h minus A. We can develop the same formula. But the difference is h, the limit of h is 0 plus. Here is IRC formula. So here is a difference. Here is a 0, and this is following interval. So it's h, and h approaching to a 0, but it's from the right side of 0, so h will greater than 0. So h still approaching to a 0 from the right side, so h is greater than 0. So this formula is following interval. Now we combine these two formula. We can develop a new formula is IRC equal limit h approaching from both sides. So it's h approaching 0. We don't need to write a plus or negative. So for this one is general formula. In some situation, the IRC formula maybe cannot work. For this graph, this graph is discontinued. So like here, it only can use preceding. So preceding will be fine, and the following we're not able to use. So I will explain the reason. So for preceding is from is using the point in front of P. So it's here. The interval here. So approaching to the P point. Like very close here. We find a Q point and then draw the secant line between it to find the tangent line of P. So it can be used the limit h approaching to the 0 and then is negative here. The distance between is negative. It's less than 0, so from came in front of Q to the P. So it can use proceeding to find a IRC, but not for following. Following use the point like here. Here's a Q point. Then to find a secant line between P and the Q. But because they have a distance, it's discontinued. So the edge approaching to the 0, like here, because there is too far, the y value will be very different. So it's the reason why using following will we cannot find the correct answer from following interval. We just need to use preceding interval to find this kind of question, the tangent line of P. So in the discontinuous graph, we only use certain kind of IRC to find a tangent line of P.